Well, that first one went so well, I decided to immediately make another one. See if this works out better, if I learned anything. This reflection will be on sports and philosophy and American culture. This is on the heels of the Pacquiao Mayweather fight, which generated an obscene amount of money. And anyone who just casually observes television, especially in the US, can see how much time and resources is devoted to sports. And for a lot of academics, this is puzzling. But for me, as a sports fan, I find it to be a source of, well, reflection. And one of the things maybe I'll start with is how I think the oppositional framework of sports, that there are typically two individuals or teams literally or figuratively fighting each other, is very indicative of what Hegel would call kind of the dialectical structure of reality. That we need to, or that we best define ourselves by or in opposition to an opponent. And this is why I think, in particular, football is so illuminating. Because football is pretty much unique to the United States. And I think this is tied to American culture. And it's kind of militaristic, it's a cowboy kind of attitude. And I think as long as football remains, somewhat unique to American culture, America will be dominant on the world stage in terms of military and really everything else. Because other sports like soccer or football, as everyone else in the world calls it, the most popular sport in the world, it still has that oppositional framework, but there's much more subtlety and nuance in soccer. My personal favorite, or it used to be until the White Sox started killing me this season, baseball. It's popular in certain countries like in East Asia, like my motherland, Korea, Japan, also in Latin America. I think baseball, like soccer, has more subtlety and nuance. And part of the thing about these team sports, as opposed to say something like boxing, is that they emphasize values like teamwork and cooperation. And I think that ultimately that's why they're more appealing than one-on-one sports like boxing, where it lacks that aspect where people can glorify these qualities that I think contribute to human society. But baseball, like football, and soccer to a somewhat lesser extent, has very defined rules. Well, actually, I lost my train of thought because in the background, Radiohead again. It's like one of my favorite songs of all time, Body Snatchers. There's this part that just is so moving to me for whatever reason. Anyway, back to sports. What I was getting at, actually, not so much the defined rules aspect of sports, which applies really to all of them, but more defined roles. That each player on the field, on a baseball diamond, has a specific role, either in the batting order, right? The leadoff hitter is supposed to get on base, be patient. Cleanup hitter is supposed to drive in runs, and on the field, that you want your most defensively adept players, say at shortstop or at center field, that type of thing. Football takes that to the extreme. I mean, the roles are much more limited, whereas every ball player can hit a home run, theoretically, even though that's not, all of their main primary responsibilities. In football, offensive linemen aren't supposed to catch touchdowns, and in fact, the rules prohibit them from doing so in most circumstances. And I think the violence of football, with these huge hits and whatnot, that's again indicative of American culture, and the glorification of that violence. That's why we love guns, and we love the death penalty, and that type of thing. Whereas, so on top of the defined roles that you have in football, right? Everyone is supposed to know their place and do their job. You have that violence. I mean, that violence, I think, you also see to some extent in say hockey, but you don't have that same specialization. And that's why it's not really the same. And there's all sorts of things I could probably go on and say about this. But again, I'm new to this. I'll try to keep this short. And I think it's just interesting to reflect on how the popularity of these various sports and how much time and resources. Oh, here's this part in this song that's just so moving to me. But the popularity and importance that sports play in culture shows something about, or reflects something about what's really important to us, what we value. And I think, there are a lot of good things about sports. But if you take it apart, there's some things that might, make us at least question what we hold important in society. Anyway, I'll go back and enjoy the song and leave it at that. Thanks. Bye.